Welcome to the Wholesaling Inc. podcast, America's #1 podcast for new real estate investors, where we know that finding discounted properties is the most proven path to financial freedom. I am your host, Brent Daniels, Mr. TTP, Mr. Talk to People, and I am telling you this: if I can do it, so can you. So let's get started. Let's talk about something. Let's talk about circumstance. All right. Let's talk about when you go out there and you're being proactive and you are reaching out to distressed property owners. I'm talking about the ugliest properties on the street in your community, right? And you're reaching out and you're having conversations with these property owners, but something just isn't happening. Right? Something isn't, it's just not connecting. You're talking to a lot of people, but that really hot lead that you always hear about, that hot deal that you always hear about on this podcast or other podcasts or YouTube or at meetups or from your friends or from your heroes in this business, it's just not popping for you. And you have an option of your responses, right? What is your response going to be here? And that's the interesting thing, because between circumstance and response is choice. You have a choice here. You have a choice on how you're going to respond. Are you going to let all of the rejection? Are you going to let all of this work? Are you going to let all of the people telling you that maybe this isn't the right thing for you, or maybe you should try out this other thing, or whatever it is? Or are you going to stick to the plan and stay consistent? That's really challenging. It's extremely challenging, because when we get started in this business, we have like this bliss, and it's kind of like a blissful ignorance. We don't know what can be accomplished. We don't know what it's going to take. And then all of a sudden we get into it, and then we realize what it's going to take. And a lot of people step away at this point, but not the man that I'm interviewing and having a conversation with on this podcast. Because this guy talked to thousands of property owners before he closed his first deal, before he tasted the true fact that he could close a deal and bring in income for himself and his family, right? From the efforts that he was making every single day, calling up on these ugly houses and asking them if they would consider an offer. So out of Riverside, California, it is my pleasure to introduce Dave King to the Wholesaling Inc. podcast. Dave, say hello to everybody.
What's going on? What's going on, Brent? How's everybody doing?
I am excited. I am excited since you came by my office in September. You were not too far away, Phoenix and Riverside,
Right.
but you were just getting into it. It was just your first month, and you were just sinking your teeth into it. And you were ready. You were ready to take action. You were already in the process of pulling your lists and getting the phone numbers and making some calls. And you just kept going and kept going and kept going. Tell me kind of what that process looked like. Tell me what your first 6 months in this business looked like, because I think it's really important to get perspective for everybody.
Yeah, of course. My first 6 months, a lot of trial and error, me figuring out kind of what the business really is, kind of the nature of the beast. But I was my main thing was going back and figuring out kind of what my schedule should be. And so once I figured that out, which was calling 9 a.m. to 12, and then going out and driving for dollars between 12 and 3, and then coming back and just doing follow-ups every day between usually 3 to 5 or 3 to 6. Through all of that, after the first 6 months, I was, like I said, able to find some traction and get a deal done. But that was tireless nights, waking up, wondering what's going on with the sellers. A lot of deals being almost at the finish point, didn't work out.
I know
for lots of things. Man, if the list goes on and on. But like you said, for the intro, I was able to figure it out.
Well, I was looking back through all of our past texts, and it was like, check out this deal, check out this deal, check out this deal, check out this deal, check it out. And like you were saying, I mean, true to form, you were there. There was leads that just couldn't get past the finish line. What do you think was happening there? Like, educate everybody that maybe they're going through this now. Maybe they just were heartbroken because something fell out or somebody else swooped in and got the deal. Like, talk about what were some of those reasons why they didn't get closed, if you can go back that far.
Yeah, of course. I had deals. For example, I had a seller who just chose at the last minute to go with the real estate agent because in our area, the numbers were like 340,000 is what I was willing to offer them for a property that he was able to end up selling on the market for like 515.
Yep.
He entertained the offer at the time because he was moving to Tennessee where he's from, and he had a son who basically he had basically, you've seen the movie Step Brothers.
Yeah.
Basically had a son that was like 40 years old that still lived with him, and he was trying to figure out what to do with him before he could move back to Tennessee. And so he was like, yeah, I need to get this thing sold. And I was telling him, hey, we could do it. I actually had a buyer who was interested and would do it within 2 to 3 days. And after speaking with them, I think we went on Christmas happened. Everything was, I still remember because you were telling me at the time, like, hey man, keep pushing. We have until about December the 16th to get those deals in. And I just kept pushing. He's like, hey, I'm just going to do it with the real estate agent. And so that was one deal. And then I had a situation where I came out, look at a property.
Yeah.
The seller and his wife were thinking to move to Texas. Great deal. Where was able to get the numbers close to what they wanted. Last minute, hey, we actually don't want to, sell the house after all. We're going to stay. And that took about 30, 40 days to figure that out. And so, I kept moving. I wasn't sitting on these deals and trying to figure out how I can close each one of them. But yeah, those are a couple.
So what was going through your head when you're going and you're like, okay, I'm talking to people for 3 hours a day. I'm getting these opportunities, but they're just not closing. I'm just not bringing in income. Did you want to quit? Were you looking around for maybe some other opportunities? Did you just stay laser focused? Like mentally, what was going through your head?
Mentally, I would say I did not. For me, I basically was I knew it worked. Let's just say that I knew it worked. I knew there's people that I'm in TTP. So having spoke with other people, it's working. People are closing deals in our group meetings. And so I just got to a place of what do I need to do more of, or what can I X out? How can I laser focus in on certain things or, the money making activities? And so, after a certain amount of time and talking to my family, not necessarily about the business, but just like, this is where I am with everything. And because my mom invested a little money into the mentorship with me and everything, OPM, because I knew I would be able to get it back. And so I've since then paid her back. And at the time, you want to give those progress updates. This is what's going on. And so I just knew that it was not something that I was going to quit on for sure.
That's incredible. What were you doing before you got into real estate? Like, what's your background and how'd you find it?
I actually found wholesaling in 2016, believe it or not. And I joined, it was not a mentorship, but Cody Sperber, Clever Investor, they had basically like a 30-day get your first deal done situation. And I wasn't able to get traction at the time because there wasn't a lot of technology. You driving down, doing driving for dollars, you have to write the information down.
Yeah.
And I wasn't as committed. I had a job at the time. So before entering real estate this time, I was working for the state for Caltrans, which is basically highway maintenance.
Sure.
And it was good money, pays the bills. But it wasn't something that, ever since the 2016 having tried real estate, I knew it was something that I wanted to come back to. And I know, like you said, based on philosophy, I'm not someone that I want to work for someone. else
Right.
for the rest of my life. I
Right.
kind of, because I know you can't pass that to your kids. You have to be able to build something, kind of pick yourself up from the bootstraps and kind of figure out your lane in whatever industry you're going to be in. And this was something that I knew you didn't necessarily have to be the smartest person to do real estate.
I
It's
love it.
something
And I
that
love that you say that, because a lot of people talk about legacy and they're like, oh, I'm going to leave this big portfolio of properties, or, oh, I'm going to leave, all these connections that I have. It's, what are you leaving as an example, right?
exactly.
What is the model that they are going to look at and say, this is somebody that has control of their life. They have control of their schedule. They don't have a boss. They're doing their own thing. That's the legacy. I mean, Dave, you hit it right on the head, and it's incredible. I literally have goosebumps right now, because that's the truth. That's the legacy. You said it, like, if you're just going to always be an employee, that's what your kids are going to see. And that's fine if you're fine with that. But people with us, we just have different brains, and we don't want to just be a cog in somebody else's wheel. We want to have control. And I think most of the people, if not all the people listening and watching this, want that same kind of control, or they just wouldn't be listening and watching. So really think about are you setting the model for your kids in the future? That's huge. I love that. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So you got out of that job, you got into real estate. Now I remember they tried to pull you back into it, right?
Yeah, because basically it's intermittent. So you go in for a season, 6 months or so at a time, and then basically they're like, hey, we don't need anybody right now. Then you come back. And so I was kind of, I had been in that job previously. This was actually the third time that I was actually going to work there. And so that's why when I was having those conversations with you, going back and forth, kind of like, what should I do? It wasn't that, I know a lot of people get to a place where they're like, oh, I'm running out of money. It wasn't that. It's that I have a son, and I just felt as though it wouldn't be irresponsible to use my savings on investing, especially since it wasn't getting traction that quick.
Yeah.
I was, that's why I was willing to try new dollars and do these different things, because I was willing to do something different, to try to get a different result.
Yeah, and you were using batch dialer. It wasn't working for you, so you switched over to call tools. And not only that, but you switched from Riverside over to Florida. Where in Florida did you go?
Bellevue, Gainesville area, Ocala, kind of, I think western, kind of like Midwest Florida.
I love it. Yeah. And as soon as you started in Florida, how'd it go?
So yeah, as soon as I started in Florida, I got a list, like I said, from Moran. Shout out Moran. Yeah. And basically dialed that list, every single day I woke up, except Sundays, dialing out, talking to sellers, and I was able to get a lot of leads quick and kind of sort through who was actually going to sell, who wasn't. And then I got to a seller, like I said, who at the time was going through a family probate situation. And I met him at the right time, essentially. We got to a place where we were talking about the property. I understood his situation. He had previously, in the last 8 months, before he sold the property to us, talked to other buyers, and it just wasn't the right timing. So the time that I actually met him was a time after the probate situation was coming to an end, and met him, was able to close the deal with him just by creating rapport.
Well, before we get to the bell ringing on this thing, let me ask you this, because whenever somebody asks me about changing lists, or they're taking a lot of action but not getting a lot of traction, I look at three main things: skills, data, and lists. All right. Skills is, how are you at communicating on the phone? What is your tone? What is your pacing? What words are you using? I look at that first, because I want to see if, even when you make a connection, are you able to get past the first 5 seconds, because the first 5 seconds will get you the next 30 seconds when you're talking to somebody that's new, when you're talking to a stranger about their property. So I want to see if that's the first thing. The second part is the data, right? Do you have the right phone number for these properties? Are you talking to enough people to really find and build a lot of opportunities or a lead pipeline? And then the third part is the lists, right? Are you calling people, and are they constantly rejecting and saying no, or they want retail, or are they open to it? So what do you think it was, Dave, going from Riverside into the middle of Florida and having so much more and better conversations?
That definitely would say, just from my experience talking to other wholesalers in California and versus Florida and different things, I think that, I mean, it's just a lot more people in California. A lot more people are buying in California.
Okay.
So it's tougher to find deals. Not necessarily that you can't find a deal. You can get a deal. It's just that, because I'm actually working a couple right now, but it's actually that, like I said, it's you gotta really dig deeper
The list.
into
the list part of that. Yeah. Because I've heard you on the phone. Excellent. I know that you're getting the right data because you're connecting with a lot of the property owners.
Right,
so I'm assuming it's just the last part, which is, who are you targeting? Who are you going after? And I'm going through this exercise, Dave, not for you. You understand all this. I'm going it for everybody in the audience that's listening. If you're getting stuck in these situations, but you still have that fire in your belly, and you still know that it's going to work like Dave did, you got to look at those three things. Is it my skills? Is it my phone numbers? Is it, or the data? And is it the list? Is it the target that I'm going after? And then you can start tweaking those things. And if you're like, you know what, I feel confident on the phone. I feel like I'm bringing a lot of kindness and optimism to them. So that's good. And I know that I'm talking to the right people. I'm just not getting leads. It's the lists. Listen to me, everybody. It's the lists, right? And so the lists come down to a lot of different things. If you're in a market like California or specifically Riverside, you have to get really nichey with your cash buyers and what they're looking for, and then almost reverse engineer it to find the right opportunities. It's not so much as a pretty as a list that everybody can use in every market. You got to go real niche. In Florida, it's different. And you went in Florida, you got the list, and boom, action.
Like in California, for example, like the list that I've called, I'm talking about from pulling lists. Driving for Dollars is the best list.
Yeah, for sure.
Just for myself, like hearing that. I've heard this 1,000 times. You hear the seller. I heard this 1,000 times. Or you just get a FU as soon as you do your spiel.
Right.
In Florida, I didn't really have that. I didn't feel like every person was touched. I feel like in California, every person, not literally, but every person's been touched.
I get it.
With some type of marketing, some type of, will you sell your house, this, that. And, it's kind of harder for them because the margins, that's another thing. The margins here, $60,000, $70,000 a deal versus a Florida deal that, I closed, which I'm 100% grateful for, 16,000.
Yeah.
It's different, in that regard.
Right. So let's go back over that. So you went and you got this deal locked up for how much?
$58,500.
$58,500. And now you're in a new market, right?
Right.
So it's time to squad up with somebody that has buyers in that market. Right. So what did you do? Who'd you squad up with?
Well, I squatted up with Moran, and essentially we were supposed to close the deal at the time. And he had a lot on his plate. And when he looked at it, he didn't really see that it was enough room.
Sure.
And so what ended up happening was I met someone out of Pace Morby's group.
Yep.
And
Sub 2,
Sub 2. And so, Sub 2 on Facebook, and we basically, I put out just, hey, I have this property in so-and-so area looking for buyers. And they connected me with someone like, hey, this guy is the expert in that area, which is David Marsh. And essentially me and David Marsh, we got to know each other really quick. That wasn't actually the first deal I sent him another deal. And then this deal was right after, because I met the person within the same week. And so I was like, hey, that first deal didn't work. He was like, it's all right, man. And I was like, I got this one. And this is the one that we ended up closing. And so, yeah, we got a buyer within, I would say 2 weeks of looking
Now,
at the
real quick,
property.
was he in that market, or is that his main market?
Yeah, it is.
Right.
Ocala, Gainesville.
This
Yeah,
is a big thing, right? So Moran does deals all over the country. You know
right,
what I'm saying? So he's seeing everything everywhere. If at first you're bringing it to somebody that has buyers all over the place and doesn't have a specific, even if they pass on it, make sure that you go to somebody that is that market specific, because they're
right,
going to know there's going to be a little bit of nuance more of what their buyers will pay for them in that market, and that's exactly what
right.
happened here. That's exactly what happened
Exactly.
here. Yeah.
Exactly. So I brought it to him. He kind of looked at it, sent it out, like I said, to a bunch of people in our groups. I've met a lot of people, so I've sent it out to a lot of people, and they kind of gave me what they thought. And then from that, compared to someone who's in the actual market, he was like, "Nah, man, it's a lot more room on this thing." And so when we sat down and we pulled comps, I pulled my comps, and then I showed him what I had. He pulled his comps, he showed me. We kind of contrasted and came to a place where we were like, okay, we could do something with this. And
Yep.
so the next thing he had, I forget what software he used, but he basically blasted it out to his buyers, and they came back and agreed to what we said, like number wise, like, yeah, we'll give you this for it. And so from there, the next thing was talking back to the seller and seeing kind of, okay, this thing is for real, because he was telling me at the whole time, if there's any point where you're not comfortable and you want to back out, you can back out. I could always go back to the last buyers, and I tell him like,
Yeah.
nah, that's not going to happen, because I'm going to make sure we figure out a solution. We're going to make sure we figure out a solution for it. And so after going back and forth, like I told you, we got to the 58.5. And then we were able to talk to the seller, and in between there, make $16,500 off. So
$16,500. You guys split it 50-50, but $16,500. Congratulations.
Right.
Come on.
Man, the bell.
There it is. I love
Right.
it. Listen, I mean, wow. I mean, you battled a lot. I mean, you literally told me off screen 25,000 before the podcast, 25,000 dials, 3,000 conversations. You stuck with it, and you made some adjustments. You changed which dialer you used. You changed which market you were going after, and boom, $16,500. That's what happens when that circumstance pops up. And instead of responding by hiding or running away or changing tracks, you made the choice to stay with it, stay consistent, stay positive and optimistic, and push through and get it done. That is so powerful. And it is so powerful. Not only that, but to do that early in your business and to really stick it out. That first 6 months, year, I am telling you, it is a whirlwind. You are in a tornado. You're learning new things. You're meeting new people. You're going into different situations. You're now going into houses that you would never go into regularly because they're boarded up, or they're falling apart, or they're, they've got people that are really closed off in there. And you did it. You pushed through this first 6 months, and now you've seen light, and now you're pushing. How's your pipeline of leads now, Dave?
Robust.
Robust. I love it.
Yeah. You just, I think once, and I always heard this from our, meetings and everything with people, that you get to a place where once you get the deal, like it's the floodgates open,
Yep.
You get to a place where you're like, all right, this is, I can see the concept. It worked. How many times can I do this?
Yep.
For how long can I do this? And I'm kind of at that place, and then creating systems and some of the things I want to start touching base with you on. And then now I feel more comfortable sharing for YouTube and starting to do different things, because I feel like there's a place where if you are trying things, you don't want to necessarily bring it out until you kind of have a finished product. And
of course.
That's where I am now, and I'm gonna start documenting more.
I love it. I mean, it's the classic, you have faith and then fact changes it. And then once you have the fact, it opens everything up. It's like Roger Bannister running under 4 minute mile. They ran
Right,
the mile for like 2,000 years until
right.
somebody finally ran it under 4 minutes. And now it's been, that's the average. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and
Like
I did
you have a
this.
Roger Bannister in your brain. Everybody does. Just keep pushing. Just keep pushing. Keep the faith, and then boom, that first deal, it's the sub 4 minute mile, and all of a sudden you could do it again and again and again and again.
And
And I love it.
I just want to touch basis on 1.2 because one thing that was holding me back. I remember I don't know how far you scroll back when I first started with you was CRM. Do I need an LLC? Do I need any of these things? And you kind of like put me at a place where it was like, hey man, just get a deal. Once
Yep.
you get some traction, you start talking to some people, you got some things lined up. Use the money you get to invest back into yourself, and
That's it.
I can say that works. That truly works. Like, don't worry about too much. Um, how you're going to get the deal done and all these different things, but just actually do the work.
Yep.
Become in love with the process.
95% of this is that conversation with a distressed property owner. That's
Right.
it. Like when you're starting out, 95% of it is lead generation. You can
Right.
know everything, and there's probably people listening and watching this that knows way more about real estate than I do.
Right.
But millions of dollars made in real estate because of being proactive, lead generation, go after, find these opportunities, and learn what to do with them. That's it.
Right.
Just recognize potential in these properties. And that's how you level up in the real estate game. And just don't stay in paralysis by analysis. Don't stay in the education loop. Go out and take action. Anybody that's pushing, any mentor that you have, any coach that you have out there, they should be having you focus 100% on just finding opportunities in the beginning, because that's the whole point. You have to find these opportunities to be able to convert them, and to be able to, and once you convert them, then you actually make the income, and then you break your brain, and you can do it again and again and again.
Yep.
Yeah.
And,
So that's
and
awesome.
it's a process, man. Life. I found a lot out about myself. I found out a lot about, like I said, the business, how I can help others was a thing, as far as like getting the deal done in Florida. And like, man, I'm not even in Florida, and I'm able to get a deal done and do this from my house. And, a lot of, as much as it took a long time to get everything done, I'm grateful for what happened along that process, so that now I can like look at it from a different lens and say, okay, got the deal done. It took all that, but we can shorten that time if we get better at these things.
Love it. What's the big goal, Dave? When you think about being a real estate investor, are you lending money? Are you developing properties? Are you flipping properties? Are you holding a big portfolio? Tell everybody what the next 5-10 years is going to look like for Dave King.
Yeah, for me, I definitely believe in passive income. I follow Grant Cardone. It's just his philosophies and passive income, and having to not have to necessarily work every single day and everything. And then taking, I I was looking at syndication and different things like that.
Sure.
Getting to I don't know about lending, but I will definitely say rental portfolio would probably be what I would say. Wholesaling actively for income to be able to take and invest into, my portfolio.
Perfect plan. Use wholesaling as your ATM machine, your cash machine, and put it into assets that last forever. Right. I love it, Dave. Awesome. How can people get a hold? What's the best way to get a hold of you, Dave? People want to squat up with you. They want to say congratulations.
Right. I give you guys my Instagram. It's King Dave _ the THE and then great GR8. And so that's
guys,
probably the best place.
It's on the screen on the YouTube channel, Brent Daniels YouTube channel, if you want to check that out. Well, Dave, incredible. I mean, absolutely incredible. I am so happy for you. We've talked a lot over the last 6 months, and just seeing you at this point and knowing that you're just you've cracked it wide open. Now it's just
Right.
staying focused, staying focused. Ugly houses, big checks, ugly houses, big checks. Get this thing up to $1 million business. Pull yourself out of the business, net $1 million in this business, and really, really, really start building that portfolio and going real bananas on all of the exciting things that this industry brings us. So I'm excited to watch it. I'm excited to watch it, man.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And like I said, I'll help anybody if you guys need help, calling, closing deals. I have people in the California area. If anybody's in California, definitely reach out to me.
Incredible. Give some advice to somebody just starting out, Dave.
I would say if you're just starting out, just enjoy the process. Don't be too hard on yourself, because I feel like at some place you can start to like have negative thoughts when things aren't working the way,
Sure.
like, am I good enough? Can I really do this business? And you have to really affirm, to yourself that you can do these things. And life really isn't that serious, man, when you really break it down, because, you're kind of here and going tomorrow. And so it's just waking up every day with enthusiasm, kind of having your set go-tos or how your mantras or whatever you got set up, and, drinking a glass of water and just getting to work,
That's it. I love it, Dave. Thank you for being on here. Really appreciate it. What a story. Incredible. And listen, just like Dave was saying, comparison is the thief of joy. And it's not the comparison that we have towards other people. It's the comparison that we have of where we think we should already be. Stop it. Live today. Do the work today. Who are you going to help today? Who are you going to have a quality conversation with? Who are you going to get a signed purchase agreement with today? That's the question to ask. Comparison is a thief of joy. Don't let it attack your joy. All right. And if you're interested in joining the most proactive group in real estate investing, it is the TTP family, the TTP coaching program. Go to wholesalinginc.com/TTP, wholesalinginc.com/TTP. Check out what it's all about. Check out the incredible people that we work with currently and the success that they're having. Check out what the program involves. And if it feels good in your gut, sign up for a call. And I look forward to working with you personally. And that's it. I will wrap up this incredible podcast with Dave King, the King. I love it, by telling everybody to go out there and talk to people. Love you guys. See you later.